able just to explain a little bit about what is consultation?
Yeah, sure. So consultation is a helpful problem-solving process where the consultant helps the consultee to find their own solutions to problems. And they do that through a process of asking questions that bring about changes in thinking and practice. And the consultee is helped to kind of get a different perspective of the problem through it being able to explore it, explore some of the patterns and sequences around it. The idea is that the consultant is really curious about what's going on and is able to explore that with the consultee so that they are able to kind of take a step back from it, in a sense, because often when you've got an issue, it's all encompassing and you can feel really stuck. So just being able to take one step back from the problem and look at it through a different lens can be a really helpful process.
So when we're thinking about the problem, does it always have to be around an individual, or can it be something more systemic, whole school?
No, it can be whole school issues, or it can be a whole class, or it can be a group of children, or it can be on an individual level as well. So there's a whole different variety of levels that it can operate on.
Who would be the best people to be present in a consultation from school?
So the best people to be present are the problem owners. And sometimes you can start having a consultation with an individual in school and realise that they're not actually the problem owners and they need to pass you along to somebody else to have a consultation with, because when you start sort of asking about things like when is it better or when is the problem not happening, they're not able to give you those sorts of answers because they're not living with that issue. So the best person to have the consultation with is the problem owner.
What could we expect? So we've booked the consultation in, we've got the right staff in the room that know the problem really well. Mm-hmm. What's the process look like? What happens in a consultation?
What actually happens? Yeah. So the first thing to happen is to get a clear understanding of the issue. So the consultee is asked about it and they're able to tell it in their own words. And often what's really important in this stage is for them to feel heard and to feel like the consultant understands what the issues are. So we use a lot of summarising in that, which also gives the consultee an opportunity to reflect back, oh, did I mean that? And then there's a process whereby the consultant will ask questions around the problem, looking for patterns. When does it occur? When does it not occur? Being curious about that. And then there's a point where they're coming to more of a shared understanding about what's going on for this child or for this issue or for this group. And that's when the consultant might help to put it into words in terms of a formulation of what's going on, what do we think's going on here? Does this sound right? That this is being influenced by this, this and this. And at that point it might be helpful to go a number of ways. Sometimes we can feel completely bogged down because problems can be incredibly complex. And it might be helpful just to focus on one aspect of the problem at that point in time, something that's changeable, because often there's lots of aspects of a situation that aren't changeable or not under our control at any rate. And so it might be helpful to focus on just one part that is within our control. It might also be helpful to look at what are the positives in the situation, what are the exceptions to when the problem occurs, because sometimes it can seem so all-encompassing and negative. We lose sight of the good things. And just reminding ourselves of those and the consultee talking about those often gives rise to thinking about possible ways forward and solutions and ideas for action plans. And then there's a kind of formulation of an action plan, so that the consultee goes away with thinking about what they will do, and so have some very practical steps that they can put into place. And then following that, at some point, appropriate length of time, it might be a few weeks or it might be next term, or depends on the context, but there's a review and there'll be a process of seeing how that's going, how did the actions go and what happened.
So what might happen following the consultation?
Well, there are a number of outcomes that might happen. The first is that following a consultation, the consultee feels like they've got an action plan, they know what to do, they're going to put that into place, see what happens, and it's just then a process of reviewing it. Or it might be that the consultation has highlighted the need for some training and that happens and that then leads to change. Or it might be that the consultation
reveals that there's a need for further exploration of the problem. So that might involve the psychologist coming in to do some observation, to do some individual work with the child, understanding their perspective, understanding more about them using a variety of tools such as dynamic or standardized assessments. And that then following that work, another conversation would happen, often involving parents and perhaps the young person themselves, depending on their age and level of keenness to participate, whereby there's some feedback given and the problems clarified, and again an action plan emerges that results in some change. Or again, there might be a need for further training, there might be a need for further intervention of some sort.